A 24-year-old high school teacher, Colleen Ritzer, failed to return home from work on October 22, 2013. Only a couple hours later, her loved one's worst nightmare came true. Colleen's body was found in the woods, buried in a shallow grave. She was subjected to extreme torture and assault, and next to her brutalized body was a hateful note. Hello and welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. This is the Prime Crime, where we discover and dissect solved and unsolved criminal cases around the world. Today's case is about a teenage killer from Danvers High School whose murderous wrath fell upon his own teacher. But before we start, we would like to send our condolences to the people affected by the heinous acts committed by this individual. Originally known as Salem Village, the quaint little town of Danvers was famously tied to the 1692 Salem witch trials. The town's name was changed to Danvers many years later, commemorating the wrongfully slain witches of the era with a monument. Danvers High School had just installed a state-of-the-art surveillance system in October of 2013. Unlike most CCTV cameras, it captured and recorded events with a much superior resolution. Unfortunately, the town had chosen not to have someone monitor the screens in real time, since the town wasn't particularly ridden with crime, a decision that would later bear irrefutable consequences. Colleen Ritzer was born on May 13, 1989 in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Her parents Thomas and Peggy Ritzer describe her as a passionate, empathetic individual with an undying love for teaching. She was also incredibly close to her siblings Laura and Daniel Ritzer. Colleen always loved math and went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics with a minor in psychology, with her focus on getting secondary education. Working as a mathematics teacher at Danvers High, she pursued a teaching degree and enrolled in Salem State College. Colleen was an incredibly hard-working person with her purpose in life absolutely clear: to make maths easier for her students, and she was really good at it too. Her students will always remember Colleen with a great sense of humor, making the subject fun for them. Even students who did poorly looked forward to her classes and benefited from her teaching techniques. She was the math teacher that all of us wanted growing up. A positive force and the most loved teacher at school, nobody could have imagined a student with a vendetta against Colleen Ritzer. Sadly, not all crimes are premeditated with vengeance in mind. Some are triggered by a word as harmless as Tennessee. On the fateful day of October 22, 2013, Colleen noticed that one of her students was distracted during her class. She asked him to stay back for a while after school hours to have a chat with him. She wanted to help this student prepare for an upcoming math test. A decision she made out of love, but her family will come to regret. Later that evening, Colleen's family was getting increasingly worried because their daughter hadn't returned home. Colleen's father drove all the way to Danvers High School, only to find her car still in the car park. He went up to her classroom, but all her belongings were gone. Her phone, jacket, wallet, nothing was left behind. It looked as though Colleen had exited the classroom but never made it to the school's parking lot, and that is exactly what happened. Thomas and Peggy reported their daughter missing immediately, but unbeknownst to them, there was another missing persons report filed around the same time from the exact same classroom. While one police unit was out looking for these two missing people, another unit was surveying the cameras in the school building. Fortunately, one of the cameras pointed directly at the entrance of Miss Colleen's classroom. What the footage showed was starting to put together a horrifying story of what happened to Colleen Ritzer. At 2:54 p.m., the 24-year-old teacher can be seen heading to the bathroom. Her positive personality and charm bounced off the screen in something as simple as a walk, a nod, and a smile. She waves at a student who gave her a compliment. Shortly after, a shadow can be seen on the class's entrance, and out comes a boy clad in a blue hoodie. He looks around the hallway, surveying if someone is around. Once confident that he's alone, he goes back into the class to cover his head with the hoodie, hiding his face, and seemingly holding something in his hands. This young boy was 14-year-old Philip Chism. When Colleen entered the bathroom stall, unaware of the danger that was following her, Philip too could be seen slowly walking down the hallway. He appears to be holding a pair of white rubber gloves. At 2:55 p.m., he carefully sneaks into the bathroom. His walk alone is enough to convey his sinister intentions. One look, and you can tell something is really off here. After 11 minutes, a female student can be seen entering the bathroom but quickly rushing out. She would later state she saw an exposed leg under the stall and thought someone was changing their clothes, so she didn't want to impose. Chism exited the bathroom right after she did. At 3:07 p.m., he briskly walks back to his class, hurrying his steps and looking down, hiding his face. While holding a black garment in his hand, he heads down to the student parking lot. Within the next 2 minutes, at 3:09 p.m., he runs back up the stairs in a white t-shirt. He goes to the classroom once again and comes out with a red hoodie over his head, this time carrying 3 bags. The one over his shoulder quite clearly belongs to Colleen Ritzer. Nobody suspects a young teen running around the school, but such a frequent change of clothing is highly unusual for anyone paying attention. But unfortunately, no one was. He heads back down to the parking lot and runs back up at 3:12 p.m., this time wearing his red hoodie. These multiple changes in his outfit indicate he was trying not to be spotted or remembered in school in a particular clothing. It's also evident whatever he was doing was extremely well thought out. It's a plan that has been carried out with precision. In the CCTV frame, a student can be seen trying to talk to him as he runs off again. The student calls him out, waits, then walks away. Philip runs back down the hallway, down the stairs to the parking lot again, this time returning with a large black bin. It's surprising that nobody thought to question why a student was rolling a bin around the school. He enters the bathroom at 3:16 p.m. and wheeled the bin out of the stall 6 minutes later, this time disguised in a ski mask and white t-shirt. He proceeds to roll the bin out of the school premises and down the street. A man with a dog momentarily looks over at him before going back to his phone. Perhaps one of the most horrifying things about this video evidence is how the dog is barking at the bin Philip is moving. It's highly likely that even though people passing by might have missed it, this little dog knew exactly what was inside that bin. Philip would spend 24 minutes in the woods. At 4 p.m., a now barefoot Philip Chism can be seen back inside the school premises, blood almost entirely covering his jeans. It's extremely unfortunate that no one was around to notice this teen in such a disheveled condition. Shortly after, Philip can be seen wearing his 6th outfit, this time donning a black hoodie, black shorts, and a pair of glasses while carrying a white rucksack over his shoulder. He heads for the 2nd floor bathroom again, has a quick look, and leaves. He stays on school grounds a little longer, skipping his after-school soccer practice. Notice how he appears more confident in his movements now. It's because nobody caught him and he seems highly proud of pulling off a horrific murder seamlessly. The investigators had seen enough to piece together a pretty good picture of what went down earlier that day. What started as 2 missing person reports now looked like a murder investigation, and the perpetrator, 14-year-old Philip Chism, was on the loose. A little after midnight, police received a call from a man that was concerned about a boy wearing a hoodie walking in the opposite direction to the traffic. He wanted the police to just go and check what the boy is all about. Turned out, the hooded boy was Philip Chism. It is believed that Philip had purchased a movie ticket shortly after his 6th and final change of clothing. He then went to the nearby Wendy's and used his victim, Colleen Ritzer's card to make a purchase. When Chism was stopped and searched by the police, a lot of incriminating evidence came to light. He was carrying around a knife, a bloody box cutter, blood-soaked underwear, gloves, Ritzer's IDs, and credit cards. When inquired, he deflected the question and said he found all these items just lying out front of a shop. He said he figured he'd give it to Miss Colleen the next time he'd see her at the school. Of course, that didn't go down very well with the police. On further pressing, he claimed he had broken into Colleen Ritzer's car and found everything there. But when questioned about the blood, Philip finally caved and responded, "It's the girls." Police were positive they had the killer, so Philip was brought down to Denver Police Station for further questioning. Parallel to these events, a search team was going through the woods looking for Colleen. And at 3 a.m., October 23, 2013, Colleen Ritzer was found, crudely positioned in the woods, with a branch protruding from her naked body. She had been stabbed with Philip's box cutter in the neck over 16 times and raped in the bathroom stall. Colleen was dragged through the woods, stripped, and sexually assaulted. It was later confirmed that she was raped not only by her attacker but also by a tree branch that was found still inside of her. The most heartbreaking part of this horrific case is that the pathologist later concluded Colleen Ritzer was likely alive when she was subjected to this savagery. She had multiple defense wounds, suggesting that this beloved woman fought hard for her life. Her savagely murdered body made it almost impossible to believe that a 14-year-old did this to her. Next to her brutalized body was a note that read, "I hate you all." Around the area where her body was located, police also found the wheelie bin that Philip was seen dragging on the CCTV and a blood-soaked pair of gloves. Police now had enough evidence to link Philip Chism to the murder of Colleen Ritzer, but they were yet to establish a motive. What would lead a new high school student to savagely violate and murder his math teacher? It was later found out that on the evening of this murder, Philip and Colleen were not alone in the classroom. Another student named Autumn was also present in this class. In her interview with the police, Autumn revealed that Philip and Colleen were having a normal conversation. She was asking him how he was settling into this new high school, and in course of that conversation, Colleen mentioned Tennessee, a state Philip had just moved away from. Autumn recalled Philip's demeanor completely flipping on this mention of Tennessee. He was visibly upset, muttering to himself, and Colleen seemingly noticed this fairly quickly. She immediately changed the topic, but Philip's rage had already taken over his sanity by this point. While the theory that Colleen's mention of Tennessee upset Philip, so he did what he did, certainly fits the narrative, it doesn't explain why a 14-year-old would carry a knife, box cutter, gloves, and multiple changes of clothes with him to the school. Is it possible that Philip had already decided to murder someone that day and Colleen just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time? Unfortunately, the police couldn't get a motive out of Philip, yet they had enough to charge him. So, Philip Chism was officially charged with the rape and murder of Colleen Ritzer. While waiting for his trial, Philip was placed in the Youth Detention Center. In a shocking turn of events, Philip's murderous wrath struck yet again. He followed and attacked a Department of Youth Services worker in a storeroom. Fortunately, she was able to scream for help and Philip's attack was cut short. Towards the end of 2015, Philip was deemed fit to stand trial. From his parents' divorce to a recent move from Tennessee, his defense team tried multiple tactics to deflect the blame, but there was one that would make anybody's blood boil. They argued that it was Colleen who mentioned Tennessee in a conversation with Philip, which seemed to have triggered him into some sort of psychotic state. They believed, had Colleen not brought it up, things would have been different. Of course, that was not true. This was clearly a sexually motivated, premeditated homicide. Philip was not in any psychotic episode, and it is clear from his multiple attempts to hide his identity. After days of deliberation, jury came back with a guilty verdict. On December 15, 2015, Philip Chism, 17 at the time, was convicted of rape, armed robbery, and first-degree murder of 24-year-old Colleen Ritzer. He was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison, and he will be eligible for parole after serving at least 25 years. According to expert psychologists and criminologists who analyze the case, it is common for children from abusive and failed marriages to enter a life of crime. But usually, their first crime is never brutal to the extent Philip Chism's was. To this day, the motive for this horrific murder is not known. What do you think could have led this young man to murder a teacher that was loved by all? Let us know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to The Prime Crime and join our family of true crime lovers.